I wanted to get on here and share something that I had only shared with a handful of people, and I guess I don't really talk about it much because I don't like to admit it. But well, I guess let me backtrack a little bit. The reason I wanted to share this is because I hadn't ran, and I love to run. As many of you know that I really love to run, but I hadn't ran in about, at least it was 2 weeks. And you might ask why. And in the last 2 weeks here in Alaska, it's springtime, right? So the snow has completely melted, the sun is out, everything's turning green, and what comes with that is that bears are coming out of hibernation. So and that's where my fear lies. You know, I that's what it was. What it comes down to, it was I was sick. You know, no fucking coronavirus or anything like that. I was sick from a virus, yeah, but a virus of the mind, which is fear. And like I said, I don't necessarily like to admit this or to talk about it openly. So I had only talked to a few people, you know, close people that I trust, people who hope I can share this, and they'd be receptive to listening and understanding and whatnot. But I figured I'd open up and share it to everybody because I think it's something that we can all relate at some form or at some point or another, in some way, shape, or form. So that was my fear. I like to run. I like to do long solo runs, 10, 20 plus miles, and I go along the coast, I go through the woods, I go all over the place. But here in Alaska, you have to watch out for a lot of the wildlife. So with that in mind, then, and this is how your mind plays these weird tricks on you. So that's how I know it was just like a sickness, you know, and it's something that you can purge out of your body, and it's something that you can overcome. So so bears are in town, bears are like awake and they're hungry and whatnot, right? So that's what I start thinking, and my mind goes to like worst case scenario. So what else? There's this area, this part of town, Earthquake Park. That's where I really like to run along that trail there. And I think on Facebook there were a few instances where people shared this picture of a big fat black bear, and they were saying how, oh, it's in the Earthquake Park area parking lot, I've seen it here, I've seen it there, blah blah blah. So in my mind, I just kind of closed off that part of the trail for me. That kind of made a boundary, which kind of kept me closer to home. And then little by little, I kind of felt just kind of trapped in there, and I felt like I didn't want to go out and run. And I figured, well, I'll use my bike. That was one of my excuses. I've been biking a lot. I'll just keep doing that. But I didn't want to just keep biking. You know, I loved running. So that's one way in which I was being affected by this fear. So what to do when you're encountered with a fear like that you're aware is holding you back, that you're aware of how your mind is playing those tricks on you, and you know how it's kind of putting you in this box and it's making you retreat into a corner. It doesn't feel good. So one of the first things that you have to do is you have to put it into your mind that you're going to confront this fear. And the best way to do it is to break it down into the smallest little bit of it that you can confront and that you can overcome, and then on top of that will give you the confidence to keep going. So for example, what I did is I was afraid of going out to running because of bears, right? For a lot of people that might seem like a irrational fear. For some people it might be a legit fear. It depends, it doesn't matter. That was my fear, so fuck it. So what did I do? I started running right outside of, as soon as I stepped out the door, you know, going through the neighborhood, slowly making my way downtown and slowly making my way to the coastal trail, which leads to the woods. So it took me about 2 miles to get there. So during this time, there's a lot of thoughts, there's a lot of getting used to running and feeling the process, you know. So you start getting a little more comfortable being out there, start feeling a little more confident, start feeling like okay, I can do this, you know, I'm feeling good. So that's the first step, just willingly putting yourself out there, and then confronting whatever it is. If the fear is running in this area, then I'll just run in general. And then as I'm doing that, my body and mind, they can align for a common goal, and they can align for me to eventually make it to the area where I'm afraid to go into. So that's what I did. You know, I got to the coastal trail, I ran towards Earthquake Park, and there's this one part of the trail where you get off the paved trail and you go into the woods, and that's where it gets scary, right? That's where I've seen moose in there, but moose are okay. I can just, you know, most of the time, more often than not, they just run by them, or they're like too deep into the woods to do anything. But with the bear, I didn't know what to expect, so and I had my bear spray too, so I had some sort of preparation that made me feel a little bit safer, so that definitely helps. And you know, when I was running through the trail, I was like, yeah, I'm scared, but I'm here, I'm doing it, and I was just sprinting. I could feel my heart pounding, but I got through it, and then I was like, wow, like I did it. It wasn't like, it's not that big of a deal really, but for me at that moment in time it was, because then now I feel like the fear is gone. I want to continue running. I want to continue getting out there. I don't want to feel again like I can't go do something because of this fear, you know. And so fear can be a great motivator. It can be a great paralyzer. It just depends on how you use it. That's all I wanted to share. Again, I don't normally talk about being afraid of things and not wanting to face them, but why not? You know, it's something that we all encounter at some time in your life or another, in some way, shape, or form. You're gonna be afraid of doing something. You're gonna go do it, and you're gonna overcome it, and then it'll feel a lot better, right? Once you do that, once you come out the other end, maybe a little bit different, a little bit stronger, a little bit more confident, and then you share your story the same as I am right now, and we just keep on going. So thanks for listening. I didn't know how long I would be here talking on this, but again, I thought it was important to share. It's the great virus of the mind. There's a mini solo podcast by Aubrey Marcus where he talks about that. So if you want to look that up, it's really good. It talks about what to do when you are being paralyzed by fear, like I was over the last couple of weeks. And I put some of those practices into my own practice, and that seemed to help. So maybe I'll talk about that in another video. But in the meantime, just take a look at what is scaring you at the moment. Take a look at why it's scaring you, and try to break it down into the smallest obstacle possible. How can you confront it in the least little bit that you can at least overcome, and then see if that leads you towards more success and more success and more success, and eventually you overcome the problem. So that's it. Take it easy.